The Giants beat the Jets in the MetLife Bowl. Giants are 2-0 in the 2025 preseason. Let's discuss. Welcome back to the Empire State Sports Report. I'm your host, Adrianna, also known as New York Giants Fangirl on social media. Make sure you're following along on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, where you can talk all things Giants all the time. I also go live on there, so if you guys want to join me, it's quite a bit of fun, so follow along. Today's podcast is brought to you by Believe and FanDuel Sportsbook. You guys know I love myself a good bet here and there, and I'll tell you one that I already made on FanDuel. I took Abdul Carter to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year, and if you've listened to this podcast for more than 1 second this year, you should already know that that's exactly the bet that I made that I feel most confident in because of how much I love Abdul Carter. Check out FanDuel Sportsbook for all your betting needs and make sure that you bet responsibly. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to talk about this preseason narrative as a whole before we get into the game and stats and all things like that, because there are so many fans who are like, preseason doesn't matter. I don't even know why you care about this. Okay, well, it might not matter to you, but there are almost 40 players that are not going to make the roster that have 3 games to prove that they deserve a roster spot. So it's very important to them. It's very important to the front office staff when they're evaluating these players and deciding whether or not they deserve a roster spot. And it's really valuable for the players to get that time. You know, I listened to all of the press conferences from the players after the game. And, you know, you even hear a guy like Turbo Miller, who was mostly a practice squad guy last year, you know, who's asked about, it seems like he's much more confident in the system and everything this year. And he said, yeah, I am. It's the second year in the system. I know a lot more what I'm doing right now. And I, you know, have had really good reps with these quarterbacks and I feel more confident and everything. And, you know, we wouldn't know any of this if we didn't see Turbo in preseason. So it is helpful. And I know a lot of people don't care, and that's fine, but there are a lot of us who do care. And the biggest thing that I want to say about preseason is that it just because what we see in preseason won't always translate to the regular season, it doesn't mean that it's a waste of time. Okay. So last year, when during the Giants versus Texans preseason game, both teams played all their starters and Daniel Jones threw a pick 6, was everyone like, oh, well, it's fine. It's just preseason. It doesn't matter. Is that what you were thinking when that happened? I guarantee it wasn't, because all the things that I saw on social media and my comments were, here we go again. Daniel Jones, doesn't matter that there's preseason. He sucks at football. He threw a pick 6. He's going to do it again. And guess what? He unfortunately did do it again in week 1. So there are some things that translate, but it doesn't mean that just because one thing is going bad or one thing is going great, that it means nothing. Let's start with the offensive line. The offensive line has been damn good. And yes, they're going against some backups. Some of them are second and third stringers. I don't know if you guys have paid any attention to Giants football in the last decade, but if you have watched some of the second string offensive linemen, along with the starters that have been on this team, they have been horrible. Horrible. It doesn't matter if it's preseason or regular season. They have all sucked and had really bad games. So the fact that in preseason that we have had 2 games where we have seen our starters all the way down to our third string offensive linemen, who historically have been bad, the worst in the league type of bad, be good and only give up 2 sacks? Can we not be optimistic about that? Because I know this is the alternative. That if the offensive line was bad during the last 2 preseason games and they gave up sacks and the quarterbacks were throwing interceptions because they were getting sacked and had pressure coming at them every minute of every day, you guys would be up in arms saying, our offensive line sucks. We're the worst in this league. Joe Shea didn't do anything to fix them. Blah, 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 blah. Keyboard warriors. That's what would be happening. But now that the Giants offensive line is functional, oh, it doesn't matter. It's preseason. You got to pick one lane or the other. Okay. And what I say is pick optimism, because it's going to make your life a lot better. Joshua Ezeudu has been one of the worst offensive linemen in the NFL. And that's not hyperbole. And I'm picking on Joshua Ezeudu for this example because I need you guys to understand something. That when Joshua Ezeudu was playing the starting left tackle for the Giants, he was the starting left tackle on multiple plays where Daniel Jones got injured because he got sacked on his blind side because Joshua Ezeudu didn't do his job. So these are the players that I'm talking about. And guess what? Jaxson Dart has looked damn good in preseason. And maybe it's because he's going against second stringers, not starters. But ultimately, These players learn the most from doing reps and then getting success out of them. That equals confidence. If Joshua Ezeudu is getting the type of confidence in preseason, now that he's also playing guard a little bit, where she looks a lot better at guard than he does at tackle, he's getting that confidence to say, maybe if I go out here and get reps, it's in my head, but I can be good at this. And I'm not going to get my starting quarterback injured. He was crying in the locker room after Jones tore his ACL on that play because he didn't do his job. He literally cried in the locker room. So it is important. If it's important for the number one thing is that it's confidence, then so be it. That's it. Because you need confidence to do anything well in life, whether you're a starting tackle in the NFL or you're someone trying to go to your job every day. You need confidence to say, I can go ahead and do this. And Joshua Ezeudu and this offensive line has it. The biggest thing that I wanted to see from James Hudson this week after what happened last week was to not get any drive-killing penalties. And guess what James Hudson didn't get any drive-killing penalties. So they are improving. I've heard players say, Carm is a really good offensive line coach. Year 2 of him feels much different. We feel much better. You hear Jaxson Dart and Russell Wilson in their post-game press conferences say, I was only able to do what I was able to do because the offensive line blocked for me. That is all important. Yes, let's see if that works. Game 1 against the Commanders. Of course, the regular season is what's most important, but it should make all of us feel optimistic that this offensive line is doing a damn good job. That every single player on this offensive line is doing a damn good job. Let's talk about Marcus Bowe, who's a rookie, who's been playing 2 positions, left tackle and right tackle, who in 64 pass blocking snaps has given up one pressure. Not a sack, not a quarterback hit, not multiples. 1 in 64 pass blocking snaps in 2 different positions. Can we not be optimistic about that? Because that's pretty damn good. Evan Neal, who everyone wrote off, says the worst offensive lineman in the NFL. Worse than, what's his name? Oh my God, Eric Flowers. Was okay at guard, held his own, had some good plays, had some not so good plays. But this stuff is really important. Evan Neal is going to feel like a better football player and is going to show that on the field because he's confident that he can handle what's being thrown at him this year, preseason or not. It's a good start. So I think we should all be optimistic about the offensive line. I think they've done a damn good job, and they have, stat-wise and otherwise. So again, things to be optimistic about, right? If you're someone who's out here saying Jaxson Dart needs to be the starter because he's been better in preseason, you better also be saying this offensive line looks pretty damn good too, because it can't be one or the other. It's got to be both, right? And if you're saying I'm a little worried about the run defense, they haven't looked great. Also fair. They haven't looked great. Does that mean they're going to be the worst in the league in the NFL this year? Probably not. Does it mean they're going to be the best? Also probably not. Fair concern, right? So let's go in on the offense because I have some things I want to discuss. I want to talk about starting with Russell Wilson. Okay, good drive this week. The moon ball. Oh my God. This is all the stuff that we've hoped for, right? It's an 80-yard throw to Beau Collins, a guy that no one ever heard of or would have expected to be on this team right now. Hell of a play. Beautiful. Almost got the touchdown. Offensive line blocked, did their job. Didn't even have Andrew Thomas out there. So Russell Wilson can make a throw like that. Perfect on time accuracy, led the receiver. Has done a really nice job. Again, it's preseason. Okay, but he's done a good job, right? He went 4 for 7 for 108 yards and had that one interception. Now, this is always my caveat with stats is that if you watch that game, that interception was not on Russ. Russ took the fall for it in the post-game presser and said, that's me. I should have been more communicative, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is the wide receiver didn't know what they were doing and was either running the wrong route or made the wrong cut, did something wrong, lost the ball, ends up getting intercepted. Can you blame Russell Wilson? Sure. He's part of it, but ultimately the wide receiver was not going in the right direction they were supposed to be going. And this is what happens with the UDFA wide receiver is sometimes they're going to make mistakes like that. You hope that they get it out of their system now and that they don't do it in a regular season game if they end up making the team. But Beau Collins led the receivers out of 3 targets, 1 reception for 80 yards. Dalen Cambry was right behind him, 3 targets, 2 receptions for 45 yards. And then my boy Dante Miller, 4 for 4 for 43 yards. We're going to talk about Dante Miller. I want to go, let's stick with the quarterbacks and kind of go in order here. Okay, so overall, good day for Russ, right? No one's worried about him. The interception, it is what it is. It's fine. We're going to learn from it. We're probably not going to see him on Thursday, but overall, I feel pretty good about Russ. I feel like this offense is going to be able to run a lot of different things that they weren't able to run with the other quarterbacks that we've had, and Russ is going to change that. So I feel good about that. Next up, let's talk about Jaxson Dart. 14 for 16, 137 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 sack for 0 yards, which is also really important, you guys, that even though Dart got sacked once in 2 games, he's had no negative plays. None. That's amazing for a rookie quarterback. Again, it's preseason. Okay. But again, if Jaxson Dart was throwing interceptions, like he threw a pick 6 on the first day of camp and people were screaming that he's a bust, I need you to rein it in, please. It's getting out of hand. So he's having a good preseason. Yes, if he was having a bad preseason, everyone would be freaking the fuck out and saying, he's a bust, I can't believe Dart picked him, blah, blah, blah. So can we just say he's doing a nice job in preseason, but he's not ready to be the starter. All things that are true. He's done a really nice job. I also want to go through this stat line from Warren Sharp. Jaxson Dart preseason through both games, 26 of 35, 74% completion rate, which is 4th out of 35 quarterbacks, plus 0.4 EPA per attempt, which is number 3 in the NFL, 51% success rate, number 5 in the NFL, 8.3 yards per average, number 4 in the NFL, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown. Very good showing from a rookie quarterback who's a project quarterback who's learning the hardest offense in the league. It's a great showing. I think we all should be optimistic about Dart, but I think we all should be pumping the brakes because he should not be the starter. Okay, that's it. It's fine. Next up, Jameis Winston, 6 of 11. Oh, wait. One thing also I wanted to talk about with Dart is this. I took some notes on him in Daboll's press conference. So Daboll said that he likes to keep everyone on their toes. We know this, right? So during the second drive with the starting offense, Daboll threw Dart in on the one play, see what he could do, throws the ball to Theo Johnson, takes it for a 30-yard gain, successful, yanks him off the field, puts Russ back in. Daboll said that basically they change up his plan daily. This is Jaxson Dart's. Daboll likes the way that he prepares, practices, executes, and communicates. He said they give Dart some off-script opportunities. They change the plays last minute. They let him call a play. They throw him in on a play like that with the ones. This is all a test for Jaxson Dart. It's to see how he handles it. Does he remain calm under pressure? Does he freak out because he doesn't know what the play is calling because the headset went out? Things like that. He is one of those people who is calm under pressure, and you see it in the games. And I think it's really important to be able to do that. Dart said that when Daboll said to him, "You're going in the game," he said to him, "Are you serious?" Didn't believe that he was doing it. And Dart said, he felt good about how the play went. And he said the one thing that he learned is that he needs to keep warming up on the sideline because he always needs to be ready and prepared to go. Last thing that I wanted to say about Dart, again, said the offensive line was great and he thanks them every time. The only reason he's able to do what he's able to do and make plays like that is because of the offensive line. He said the touchdown to Dulcich was great because they weren't on the same page last week and it was good to execute this week. So that's something that they focused on. So like I have to say, I have good things to say about Dart. With that being said, Jameis Winston, 6 of 11, 110 yards, 0 interceptions, 1 sack for 9 yards. And then DeVito went 3 for 4 for 52 yards and 1 interception. Overall, the quarterbacks were 27 for 38 for 398 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I know that people are invested in DeVito and whatnot. I'm sorry. I just don't care. Maybe Daboll feels like Dart doesn't need more reps. Maybe he feels like because DeVito's on the team, they have to give him more reps. I personally just feel like I would rather see Jaxson Dart and Jameis Winston get those reps. Like DeVito's not going to be on this team. So can we just give them to the quarterbacks who need the reps and who are going to be here? I don't know. Whatever. We'll find out soon enough about that. Before we get into the different positions, I want to go through the breakdown of where the players played on offense. So like starters, etc. So the first team offense was Russell Wilson, these are all guys who got first team offensive snaps. Russell Wilson, Jaxson Dart, Tracy Singletary, Slayton, Robinson, Hyatt, Collins, Washington, Humphrey, Johnson, Dolchich, and then offensive line, Hudson, Runyon, Schmitz, GVR, Neal, Illuminor. The second team offense, Dart, Miller, Ward, Humphrey, Olszewski, Washington, Wells, Dolchich, Fidoni, Bo, Izudu, Schlotman, Neal, Forsyth. Third team offensive snaps. Wilson, DeVito, Ward, Humphrey, Olszewski, Wells, Cambry, Pascal, Bly, wide receiver. And then Jermaine Terry, Fidoni, Bo, Stinney, Hudson, Schlotman, Kubas, Morrissey, Kubas, Schlotman, Williams, and then Forsyth is the right tackle. So I kind of just like to throw that out there because I think it's helpful to just see who all got snapped with who. Okay, let's go over to the different positions now because we are going to talk about my guy, Turbo Miller. But first, Tyrone Tracy had 7 carries for 39 yards. I thought the offensive line did a nice job of run blocking this game. I thought Tyrone Tracy looked good. Behind him, Dante Miller, 5 carries for 17 yards. The longest one was 6. Dante Miller is the only running back who has had 11 first downs in 2 games. He leads the NFL. The only other running back has 9. Very impressive from my guy Turbo. Also, quite a few of those have come on third down. And his speed, his elusiveness, like all of that stuff is going to help him make the roster. I think he deserves a spot on this roster. And on top of that, he plays on special teams. He plays gunner. He can make tackle. He's getting better at picking up the blitzes. And he said that he felt like he missed 1 tackle. And he's like, that was kind of haunting him a little bit. But he has been working on his tackling and has done a nice job of it. So you guys know I love Turbo. I really hope he makes the roster. I'm also hearing that there's some speculation that maybe Scattaboo might not be ready for week 1, which if that's the case, he could start on a pup list or something like that, which would allow that extra roster spot to Turbo. And then maybe when Scat is back, they cut Singletary. I don't know. They need to keep Turbo. He's earned it. Next up, so some of the other running backs here, Ward had 4 carries for 13 yards, Singletary 2 for 5, Dart 2 for 5, and Winston 1 for 1 yard. So I feel like we haven't really seen a lot of Singletary, which maybe they just feel like he's one of those players that they have seen enough of and they don't have to worry about it. I don't know. This podcast is getting longer than I hoped it would. So we're going to move along through this quick. For the wide receivers, 27 receptions for 407 yards, averaging 15. Let's call out some of the highlights. Obviously, Bo Collins, we already discussed. Dante Miller was used in the receiving games, 43 yards. Jordan Bly had 1 reception for 41 yards. Theo Johnson, 1 for 30. Jermaine Terry and Jalen Hyatt each had 1 reception for 21 yards. Greg Dolchich, the 1 for 20, which was the touchdown. Montreal Washington had 1 for 19 yards, Gunner 2 for 17, Wells 3 for 13. I really, really wanted Wells to get that touchdown. He was so close. I was rooting for him. He's a guy that I was really hoping was going to make this team. And then Wandale, all right, let's go on the wide receivers a little bit here. Wandale out of 2 targets had the 1 reception for 6 yards. You have to catch that ball, Wandale. And I know that drops have been an issue. And to be fair, I think a lot of Wandale's drops have also come because the quarterback has just not been accurate. And was that the perfect throw from Russell? No. Was it catchable? Yes. So Wandale needed to come back in on that route and catch that ball. Very disappointing on a third down play. Like, you got to make that play. The thing that I liked about it is that the play call was actually past the 1st yard marker. So I think it was like a 3rd and 5, and he ran like an 8-yard route. And I'm like, finally, this is what I want to see. I would have preferred it to go to Neighbors, but let's talk about Neighbors while we're at it. He is dealing with a back injury, which they said is normal camp tightness. Now, I don't know what the hell that means. I have not heard quite often of players having tightness in their back and that being normal during camp. I don't know. Daboll's never going to tell us the truth. That's just what we got from Jordan Renan. So I don't think there's any reason to worry that he's not going to be ready for week 1. So I think that's fine. All right, let's talk about some other wide receivers here. Jalen Hyatt in the game, out of 2 targets, had 1 reception for 21 yards. The second one, I think he just, I don't know, he seemed maybe confused on that play. I thought Dalen Cambry did a nice job in with the 2s and the 3s. Theo Johnson, of course, is going to be a huge piece of this offense. The last thing I want to talk about with the pass catchers here, because I'm including tight ends in this wide receiver roundup. The tight ends is going to be very interesting because Thomas Fidone has done a really nice job throughout preseason so far. Greg Dulcich has done a pretty good job. Daniel Bellinger did not play. Nowhere to be found this week. So that was very interesting. We've discussed that there's potential for Fidone to make the roster over Bellinger. I think as the days goes on, that could become more and more likely. So very interesting there. All right. I think that's all I got for the offense. Saw some good things. Obviously, this offense is not the same without Malik Neighbors, and it's going to look different when Scattaboo is also on the field. And the last thing is that Darius Slayton did get some reps out there. He didn't get any targets. Now, I asked Dan Duggan about this, and he said that he was on a specific snap count, and that's why. Take that as you will. He is coming back from an injury. So that's where we're at with Darius Slayton. I was hoping to see a little bit more of him, but I think we're probably not going to see the starters on Thursday. So let's move along quickly to talk about the defense. But first, let's talk about ZipRecruiter. Finding great candidates that you want to hire is kind of like finding a needle in the haystack. All right. There's a lot of resumes, a lot of candidates, but they don't always have exactly what you're looking for. But that's not the case with ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you fast. Right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter lets you connect with top candidates immediately. It actually has a pre-written invite to apply message. So you can take that, you can personally reach out to candidates that you want to apply for the job and encourage them to do it sooner rather than later. Ditch the other hiring sites and let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employees who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/audio. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Now let's talk about the defense. So I also asked Dan Duggan about the snaps too, and he said Cordell Flott was on a pitch count. So then I went and listened to Daboll's press conference, and this is what Daboll had to say about it. And he also referenced Bobby O, because Bobby O was obviously in with the starters where he should be. But then he came out, and then when he went back in, he was in with the 2s. Very interesting. So let's go through the breakdown of what units played with each other on defense. But first, so this is what Daboll said. He said they focused on a certain amount of reps for guys, and that's why Bobby O went back out. He said that throughout the game, he's on the headset talking to the positional coaches as well as the coordinators and asking them, has this guy gotten enough snaps? How many more does he need? Should we put him back in? And that's exactly what happened with Bobby O, is they had a set plan of snaps. He hadn't reached that number yet, so then they went ahead and put him back in. That could all be bullshit. We all know how Daboll is. That's what he said. So we're going to take it at face value for now. Same thing with Cordell Flott. So Flott ended up playing 18 snaps, but they only wanted to give him 10 to 12. So, they have these specific plans for snap counts, why they do it. Flott is coming back from an injury, which is why I was begging to see more of him. But now I guess with the injury, it makes sense that he only played 18 snaps. But let's talk about the players who all played on defense. And then I want to talk about specific players that I thought stood out. So the first team defense, Roy Robertson, Harris, Nacho, Elijah Chapman, DJ Davidson, Elijah Garcia. Then outside linebackers, Burns, Thibodeau, Carter. Inside linebackers, Bobby O, McFadden, Darius Muasau. Cornerbacks, Adebo, Flott, Corey Black. In the slot was Phillips. And then safeties were Holland Belton and Raheem Lane. Second team defense, Darius Alexander, DJ Davidson, Corey Durden, Elijah Chapman. And then linebackers, Carter Golston, Tomon Fox, Trace Ford. Inside linebackers, Darius Muasau, Bobby O, and Chris Ford. And then the cornerbacks were Corey Black, Art Green, TJ Moore, O'Donnell Fortune, Drew Phillips, Nick Jones, those two guys in the slot, and then Belton and Lane were the safeties. And then third team defense, Corey Durden, Elijah Garcia, Jeremiah Ledbetter, Jordan Riley, Elijah Chapman, Darius Alexander, and then outside linebackers, Ford, Golston, Fox, inside linebackers, Board, Deontay Johnson, KJ Cloyd, cornerbacks, Art Green, TJ Moore, Williams. In the slot was Jones, and then they had safeties, Raheem Lane and Makari Page. So with the starters, let's talk about Cordell Flott, because I think that him and Kayvon Thibodeaux were the two starters that stood out to most to me. Now, obviously, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter always look good out there. Abdul Carter had his welcome to the NFL moment where he got shoved on the ground by the tight end. I love that he was talking shit about it on Twitter afterwards and said that's the first and last time you're going to see that in the NFL, and we still got the win. So pipe down. I love him for that. I hope we don't see that again from Abdul Carter. But look, it happens to everyone. Like he said, it's probably not going to happen again. The guy's a beast. I'm not worried about it for a second. Burns is obviously Burns. Also not worried about him. Looks great out there always. I got flashes of Burns while I was watching Thibodeaux, and I feel like he's done a really nice job of getting off blocks, and we've seen a little bit more of his explosiveness this year. His tackling has been better, which maybe that wrestling work has paid off. Too early to tell, but from what I've seen, it seems a little bit better. And then I also feel like he's been all over the backfield, which is reminiscent of Ryan Burns, who basically lives back there. And I really just think that we are seeing a different level of Kayvon this year. Does that mean that they end up trading him at some point throughout the season? I would say probably not. You never know. But I'm just glad that I think there's good reason to be optimistic about Thibodeaux this year. I think he got the little swift kick in the ass that he needed when they drafted Abdul Carter. Obviously, they picked up his fifth-year option, which is great, but he's going to be trying to play well to get more money than that. So I like it from Kayvon. I like that competitive side of him. That's what I want to see. Next up with the starters, Cordell Flott. In those 18 snaps, I think he did a really good job. Obviously, when it comes to Cordell Flott, I think there's a little bit of worry out there, especially coming back from an injury. It's really important that we see a lot of him. That pass breakup that he had on 3rd and 2 was absolute perfection. He was covering Garrett Wilson a few times, had some really nice coverage. And, that play is a perfect example of making the most of your opportunities on the field. That was a perfect, clean pass breakup, forces the team to punt. Exactly what you want from your corners. Doesn't get better than that. No DPI hesitation, nothing with that. A clean hit, perfect. Thought he did a really nice job. I'm excited to see more of Cordell Flott. I hope that we see him on Thursday, even if it's limited snaps again. Okay, something that I wanted to highlight here is that O'Donnell Fortune, who is the UDFA cornerback from South Carolina, has gotten snaps for the first time with the second team defense. Now, I don't think he did anything to have his name called out there. He didn't have any real great pass breakups or anything like that, but I do think it's noticeable that he was getting reps with the twos, so I wanted to point that out. Next up, we have to talk about my boy Nick Jones. Nick Jones, who's been up and down, right? Comes in this week, has 3 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, and he was one of those guys that, again, to me was reminiscent of Burns, where I just felt like he made the most of his opportunities when he was on the field. He made some really nice tackles. He was all over the field. He showed quickness, explosiveness, I think, and good tackling skills, which also is really important for like literally everyone on this team. So I think he did a really nice job. He's a guy that I want to see more of. He got a lot of snaps with the 2s and with the 3s. So I thought he did a nice job. I think there were some good things out of Darius Alexander. I did not get a ton of time to really sit down and watch him one-on-one. With these rotations, it's so hard to focus on everyone, but I think that he didn't do anything that we should be concerned about. There were no flags on him, I don't believe, or anything that we should be concerned about. So, Darius Alexander is a guy who is slowly ramping things up. I think he's a little bit further behind, but I don't think anyone needs to panic. The guy's a 3rd-round pick, and he's getting reps with the 2s and the 3s. Maybe we'll see him in with the 1s this week, although I don't know if we're going to see the 1s. But I am going to focus more on Darius Alexander this week because I feel like I didn't get to watch a ton of his reps and see how he truly did. Also, Big Blue Banter does a really good job of breaking down the film after the game. So when they do their film breakdown, I will watch that I'm going to watch it on offense and defense, but I'll keep a focus on Darius Alexander. And when I do the Patriots preview on Thursday, I will include any updates about Darius Alexander on there. So stay tuned for that. Okay, a couple other guys that I thought did well on defense. Makari Page. I talked about him earlier. He was a UDFA out of Michigan. He's a safety. He has very good traits and good physical size and strength for a safety. Now, going into this camp, I was hoping that he was going to make the roster, but going through camp at preseason, I feel like he didn't really do enough to prove that. But he had a really nice game on Saturday. He had the only interception on the Jets for the Giants defense. And then on top of that, he also had, where's the stat that I'm looking for? Also had a pass breakup. So someone else who had a really nice game, again, making opportunities of the chance that he gets, like Turbo, like Nick Jones. This is what we want to see from these guys. Coming out of the game, I know there's still concerns about the run defense, and we're going to end it with this. But the thing that I want to say about the run defense is this. They only gave up 58 yards on the ground to the Jets, which was better than the Bills, right? The Bills, they gave up over 100 yards. But the thing is, they have to be a defense that bends, don't break. And we heard this from them last year, right? Where they are able to get to the quarterback from the front four. They're able to put good pressure on, but they were giving up a ton of yards on the ground. So last year, that's kind of what it was. This year, they have to be able to do the same thing, but better, right? Obviously, Dexter Lawrence is not on the field. It's different when he's out there. I also think that last year we missed Drew Phillips, who did a really nice job in the run game before he got injured. Same thing with Tyler Nubin. Tyler Nubin didn't play this week. He's kind of dealing with something. So I think we're going to see a better run defense when those two guys are on the field, plus Dexter Lawrence as the third. But they're never, where the roster is right now and the talent wise, they're not going to be a team that gives up 0 yards rushing, right? They're just never going to be that. But if they can give up less than 100 yards rushing and they can get to the quarterback and force less passing yards, then the defense is going to be fine. They don't have to be able to stop every single play. What they have to be able to do is not allow a guy like Joe Burrow on 3rd and 17 to scramble and get the first down. That is unacceptable, right? So if they give up short chunk runs here and there, they're always going to do that until they really have a really good run defense. But they can't allow the 3rd and longs to convert. So that's the stuff that I think they really have to improve upon from the run defense perspective. And I hope that they're able to do that. So we'll see how things go. Thursday, I'm going to do a preview of the Giants versus Pats, and hopefully we have some update too about what we're going to see from the starters. My expectation is we're probably not going to see any of them. I think we're going to see a lot of Dart, which is great. And then a lot of the other guys, especially the wide receivers that are fighting for roster spots. So please like, subscribe, share the podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate and review it. If you like it, give it 5 stars. And I will be back on Thursday with more. Go Giants.